Hi, everyone, and welcome to YCAS 2021. My name is Isabella Correa, the co-president of the Tech Student Board and a senior at Presentation High School in San Jose. Before we get started, I wanted to thank the sponsors that help make YCAS possible. We are so excited to have all of you here today. Whether you came because you consider yourself a climate expert already, or you wanted to gain more exposure on the climate movement and solutions to solve climate change, you are sure to find sessions that spark your interest. From STEM to advocacy to youth and Indigenous organizing, we have a diverse slate of events here for you today. Before we get started, we wanted to take the time to have a land acknowledgement. Whether you're joining us from the Bay Area like the Student Board or you're in a different country, we wanted you to acknowledge the land that you're on. In the chat, you'll see a link to native-land.ca, and we invite you to put your city and add in the chat what Indigenous land you live on. For example, the Tech Interactive is located on Ohlone land. After the summit, or even during related sessions today or tomorrow, we invite you to use this new knowledge, and we encourage you to learn more about the land and the history of it and the planet you're fighting for. That being said, thank you for participating in that welcome activity. We'll take some time now so that you can put in the native land that you're on. This summit has been months in the making by the Tech Student Board and the Tech Interactive. I'd love to welcome all of them right now to introduce themselves.
Thank you so much for that, Isabella. Hi, everyone. I'm the other co-president on the student board. My name is Julia Biswas, and I'm currently a senior at the Harker School.
Hi, everyone. My name is Urmila Budali, and I am the vice president of the Tech Student Board. I'm currently a senior at Saratoga High School.
Hi, everyone. My name is Arul Verma. I'm a high school senior at Mission San Jose High School, and I'm the Director of Outreach and Communications for the Tech Board.
Hello, my name is Adarsh Ambadi. I'm a junior board member at the Tech, and I'm a junior at Archbishop Mini High School.
Hi, I'm Anouk. I'm also a junior board member at the Tech, and I'm a junior at Saratoga High School.
Hi, I'm Devansh Bansal. I'm a junior member on the board, and I go to Bellarmine College Prep.
Hi, everyone. My name is Emily Olson. I am a junior board member, and I go to Menlo Atherton High School.
Hello, my name is Galilea Escobedo, and I am a current junior attending Presentation High School.
Hello, my name is Tia Kwan. I am a junior board member and a junior at Notre Dame High School.
Thank you, guys. We will hear from our keynote speaker and the executive director of the Monterey Bay Aquarium, Ms. Julie Packard, very soon. During her keynote, feel free to add any questions you have in the Q&A function below within Zoom. Right now, I'd like to introduce the Tech Interactive's president and CEO, Katrina Stevens, as she delivers the Tech's opening address.
Good morning, good afternoon, and even good evening to some of our folks. We are pleased to have young people from across the US and around the world joining us together today to engage with climate issues, to learn from one another, and to bring about change. This is so important to the Tech and to me personally, because that all of you are the ones who will solve our world's most challenging problems, particularly climate change. Climate change is perhaps the biggest issue facing humanity right now. From the wildfires that left our California skies orange this fall, to the snowstorm that devastated much of Texas just last month, it's clear we must work quickly and together to create evidence-based solutions. While all of us will be impacted by extreme weather, it's important to note that underprivileged communities are being hit hardest and fastest. So we hope you'll have time to reflect on that in some of these sessions. I am happy to share that Tech is about to launch our biggest exhibition in recent history, Solve for Earth. It's aimed at making visitors to our San Jose Science Center feel exactly how we hope this week will make you feel, inspired and empowered to make a difference. So come join us when we open at the end of May. We've enjoyed learning about how scientists, tech entrepreneurs, and community members have tackled the challenges of climate changes in impactful and creative ways. And we hope some of you will find the same kind of spark here. As a former teacher and school administrator, I've always been inspired by what young people can accomplish when given the right skills and information. We hope you leave today with exactly that, more tools and more useful information. So I want to thank you again to our sponsors, panelists, and guest speakers for their time and commitment to climate action and empowering youth, and most importantly to you, the next generation of problem solvers who leave us inspired with your excitement and determination. Thank you for being here, for spending your weekend with us. I'm pleased to introduce Fawn Bergen, who's coming to us from Portland, Oregon. She's the Corporate Sustainability Manager from the Intel Corporation and spent more than 22 years working in the environmental field. Driven by Intel's 2030 RISE strategy to create a more responsible, inclusive, and sustainable world enabled through technology and collective action, Fawn's group leads the sustainability goals and initiatives at Intel focused on climate and energy, water stewardship, waste, circular economy, and green infrastructure. So I'm happy to turn the time over to her.
Good morning and welcome. Hopefully everyone can see me okay, hear me okay. So welcome to the first day of the Youth Climate Action Summit. As Katrina mentioned, my name is Fawn Bergen and I lead Intel's Global Sustainability Group. Intel has a long history of commitment to the environment, beginning with our founder, Gordon Moore. We believe that climate change is a serious environmental, economic, and social challenge. For more than 2 decades, we've been reducing our carbon footprint through investments in greenhouse gas emissions reduction, energy efficiency, and renewable energy. As a technology company, we also create solutions to help others reduce their carbon footprint. Intel is proud to support the Tech Interactive and their efforts to highlight ways technology is being used for global good, like fighting climate change. We're thrilled you've decided to join today. And I am pleased to introduce an individual whose vision and leadership are making a difference to our planet and the future, Julie Packard. Julie is Executive Director and founder of the Monterey Bay Aquarium. She's an international leader in the field of ocean conservation and a leading voice for science-based policy reform in support of a healthy ocean. Julie is the recipient of numerous awards and honors, including the Audubon Medal for Conservation, the National Marine Sanctuary Foundation's Lifetime Achievement Award, and the California Coastal Commission's Coastal Hero Award. She was appointed to California Parks Forward Commission to craft a vision and blueprint for the future of the state park system. Julie also serves on the Joint Oceans Commission initiative, where she works to implement comprehensive reform of U.S. ocean policy. A marine biologist, Julie earned a bachelor's degree and a master's degree in biology from the University of California, Santa Cruz, with a focus on marine algae. Please join me to welcome Julie Packard to the Youth Climate Action Summit.
As with so many things, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. has what I think are the perfect words to frame the challenge before us. He said, "We are now faced with the fact that tomorrow is today. We are confronted with the fierce urgency of now. In this unfolding conundrum of life and history, there is such a thing as being too late. This is no time for apathy or complacency. This is a time for vigorous and positive action." There is no more urgent issue than taking action to address the climate crisis and to protect and restore Earth's living systems. Our survival absolutely depends on it. For too long, too many people have been standing by, assuming everything's under control or subject to a quick technological fix. Carbon pollution that's changing our climate and altering our ocean, unsustainable fishing practices, degradation and loss of our watersheds and wetlands, and the insidious spread of human-made chemicals into the air, water, and food we eat. We are extending our reach deeper and deeper into riskier and riskier waters with less understanding of how we're affecting ecosystems that are already under siege. We have the opportunity to come to our senses and to do the right thing on behalf of the planet that sustains us. We can truly affect a sea change in our relationship with nature. How do I know this? Because we've done it before. When I was your age, America's cities were blanketed by smog that made it painful to breathe. Rivers caught fire because we were using them as open sewers for toxic chemicals. Rachel Carson awakened us to the threat of a silent spring because chemical poisons we applied without precaution were killing birds and other animals and subtly poisoning people as well. In 1969, an offshore drilling rig in the Santa Barbara Channel blew out, blanketing beaches with oil. I was just starting college at the time, and the disaster was shocking and upsetting, and it added to my sense of outrage. The outrage that my entire generation already felt about civil rights and the Vietnam War and so many other issues at the time. It sparked a dramatic wake-up call about the fragile nature of our environment, and in turn, it catalyzed the biggest environmental movement our country has ever seen. It inspired lawmakers to enact scores of landmark laws: the Clean Air Act, the Clean Water Act, the Endangered Species Act, the National Environmental Protection Act, the Coastal Zone Management Act, the National Marine Sanctuaries Act. These laws form the foundation of our system of environmental protection. Without them, the lands and waters of our nation would be profoundly different. But it wasn't just headlines that drove Congress to act. It was the voices of people who took to the streets and demanded change that created the energy and the urgency for action. We're seeing the same thing today. By using our voices, by stepping up our civic engagement, we can create a future in which everyone can thrive. One thing the pandemic has reminded us, and that we've learned from the climate activists and the Black Lives Matter movement, is that our fates are interconnected. We can only advance by caring for one another and protecting the life support system that sustains all of us. For any of us to thrive, we all must thrive. 25 years ago, ocean conservation wasn't really on anyone's screen. And even though we've put in place protections for the big charismatic wildlife like whales and dolphins, we have ocean acidification, ocean warming, microplastic, and myriad other perturbations degrading the health of the ocean and its ability to help sustain all life. And since I was your age, two things have happened. First, the scale of human impact has grown exponentially as there are more and more of us sharing the planet. But at the same time, the pace of scientific discovery about the ocean has grown exponentially. But the more we learn, the more complex the picture becomes. And as an ocean scientist, what concerns me the most is that the ocean is losing its capacity to buffer us from the most extreme consequences of unchecked climate change. Up until now, the oceans absorbed 90% of the excess heat we produce by burning fossil fuels since the Industrial Revolution. But as the ocean's warming, it has less ability to continue absorbing that heat. At the same time, it's absorbing carbon dioxide from greenhouse gases, which makes it more acidic. Just as soil chemistry affects the health of our gardens, a more acidic ocean is a less hospitable environment for the microscopic plants and animals at the base of ocean food webs, especially zooplankton that build shells. The ocean helps regulate our atmosphere in other ways that people often don't even appreciate. Phytoplankton, the tiny plants in the ocean, produce an incredible amount of oxygen to sustain ocean life. And when sea creatures die, they sink to the bottom, locking away carbon that would otherwise contribute to further warming of the planet. So, put simply, the ocean has an incredibly important role to play, but only a living ocean can fill that role. And how do we protect that life in the ocean? It'll take the talents of scientists and engineers across the globe. So at the aquarium, we are really fortunate to partner with our colleagues at MBARI, the Monterey Bay Aquarium Research Institute, on projects designed to understand and protect the living ocean. For over 30 years, MBARI scientists and engineers have been tackling the big issues affecting the sea, asking the right questions, and designing tools to find the answers. Because the ocean represents the largest habitat on the planet, more than 90% of Earth's living space by volume, there's so much that we don't know. And as a scientist in charge of a science-based organization, I know that we can only find solutions to the challenges we face by studying and learning before we act. I grew up in a family where science was a critical value and time spent in nature was an essential part of our family experience. I've had the privilege of leading the Monterey Bay Aquarium since its inception now over 40 years ago. And during that time, Monterey Bay has become one of the most studied pieces of ocean on the planet. It's amazing. And yet, as I said, the more we learn, the more complexity the ocean reveals to us. We're scrambling for understanding, predictability, and solutions, all in a period of escalating change. So you all have a role to play in building that knowledge base as you pursue careers in science and technology, engineering, mathematics. And the fact of the matter is, we need more science and engineering and more brains put to the task at hand. The Tech offers great programs, including this Youth Climate Action Summit, to help you find a path where you can contribute. The Monterey Bay Aquarium also offers youth leadership opportunities, internships, STEM programs, starting with middle schoolers and all the way extending to college students. And of course, working in STEM isn't just doing the science and engineering, it's also learning about it so you can become a communicator, work in policy and government. There's so many ways where science engineering is needed to create a positive future for all of us. And of course, shaping a sustainable future is going to take more than STEM professionals. The natural world is changing at breathtaking speed. People's attitudes are evolving really quickly too. We urgently need new ways of thinking about the challenges that confront us. Albert Einstein said it best: we can't solve problems by using the same kind of thinking we used when we created them. For the aquarium, shaping new ways of thinking starts with the inspiring power of putting people face to face with amazing animals and plants that live in the ocean. When I walk through our galleries, I see people falling in love with the kelp forest, sea otters, or jellies, and they leave with a new commitment to take action on the ocean's behalf by using the Seafood Watch Pocket Guide to Sustainable Seafood, joining as members, bringing friends back to learn more. In our classroom programs, I meet teachers dedicated to the success of their students. I meet remarkable young people who bring such passion to the cause. The aquarium's been around long enough now that we're seeing the generational impact of our work. Young adults who came here as kids now bring their own children to visit. Kindergartners who squealed when they first touched a sea star have begun careers in the sciences or in public policy. Each in their own way is making a difference. It's our job to give them the skills and the tools to understand and address the challenges ahead. And we've got to work harder to ensure these opportunities are available and accessible to all young people of all backgrounds, cultures, and lived experiences. Equally important is stepping up our civic engagement. The votes you cast are going to create your future. I believe that the protection of our life support system is the single most important thing we can do to assure a future for the human species. All else pales in comparison. And I also believe everywhere people seek a common vision of a sustainable future on Earth, one's practical, attainable, and in which they can play a part. Places like the Monterey Bay Aquarium can support people around the world who yearn for reasons to hope and can give them guidance about ways to make a difference. By focusing on what's in our power on behalf of the environment, we'll ensure that nature and humankind together survive and thrive. We owe it to future generations. I want to close with this thought. Whatever your aspirations, you need to be part of the solutions. We need the contributions of educators and business people. We need the storytellers and the artists and the poets side by side with the scientists and engineers. I was stirred during this year's inaugural ceremonies by the words of poet Amanda Gorman, who is, I was so happy to learn, also a vocal ocean advocate herself. She said, "The new dawn blooms as we free it, for there was always light. If only we're brave enough to see it, if only we're brave enough to be it." I hope you'll leave the summit energized by the possibilities and that you'll take the next steps forward. With your energy and your involvement, I know the future of our planet is in good hands. Again, thank you so much for inviting me to share these remarks.
Thank you so much, Ms. Packard. That was a fantastic keynote. And I think we all learned so much from just that 10 minutes of you discussing. Now we'll get into the Q&A. So if you haven't already noticed, you can add your own questions to the Q&A chat function. And hopefully, if we have enough time, we can get to asking all of them. So without further ado, I'm just going to go ahead and get started with asking you a couple questions. Sound good? Oh, I think you're muted. Yeah.
Thank you so much for inviting me here, and welcome and congratulations to your whole youth board. What a fabulous event. It's just wonderful.
Thank you so much. And I think we can start off with asking a question that I think we're all very much interested in. And Gretchen herself asked this question. So she wants to be a marine biologist. And can you tell us all more about what they do and how the Monterey Bay Aquarium facilitates this scientific field?
Definitely. Well, aquariums are a place for, families and people of all ages to come and see real ocean life, which is such a treat. When you think about it, most of us only, unless you're a diver, you only get to see the surface. So that's what we're all about, exposing people. And it starts with a visit, but over the years, we've developed a very robust set of education programs and have thousands of school kids visit, as does the tech. But then we also have created some wonderful teen programs, and a shout out to our teen conservation leaders who will be presenting at the summit here later. They've been working on a digital social media track aspect of getting involved. So, the best thing to do is expose yourself and, volunteer at places like aquariums or science museums, and encourage others to get involved in all the amazing programs informal science education institutions have to offer. A huge resource for everyone.
Yeah, and I think it's so amazing that the Monterey Bay Aquarium acts as this place where young students can get interested in marine biology for the first time. I think one thing that other students listening were interested in is how can we as general people, not scientists or biologists, get involved with ocean conservation? Xavier asked, for example, what can we do to help out the Seafood Watch partner with local restaurants and supermarkets across the US?
That is a great question, near and dear to my heart. The Seafood Watch program, as probably some of the audience knows, is about engaging consumer action to push companies to provide more sustainable seafood and push retailers, and then the retailers will push the actual fishing enterprises that are out there doing the fishing or the aquaculture. So the best thing that you can do, any member of the public, young or old, is to, if you eat seafood, if you're at a restaurant or you're at your market, ask questions. Ask your wait person, and if they don't know, tell them to go ask the chef. Where did this seafood come from? Do you know the source of it? And of course, if you want to know the sustainability, Seafood Watch assesses the sustainability of pretty much all the seafood that is in the US market and a lot of it in the global market. And so you can go on the seafoodwatch.org website, or we have an app which you can, look up the things on the menu. But really the biggest power is not only your own consumer choice, but spreading the word. That is a fantastic way for you to do that, and spread the word to your friends. Talk to the chef, pressure the chef if you're in the mood, and that's how change is happening. And just to give you an idea of how much this consumer awareness has influenced the seafood supply, 85% of the big retailers in the US now, the Targets, the Costcos, the big players, Safeway, have made a time-bound commitment to source only sustainable seafood, over a time period. That's huge. That's really huge. So, and wherever you are internationally too, it's a growing movement, obviously, at different paces in different countries, but we do have power as consumers, and awareness of this is picking up steam. And then finally, I would say it's not It's not just about protection of the ocean, and of course, overfishing is having a huge negative impact on the health of the ocean. There's also a lot of terrible human rights abuses that go on in the seafood enterprise, from slavery on the ships where the fishing's going on to child labor on the processing plants. So really, we just all need to do everything we can to raise awareness and improve practices.
Yeah. And I think another question that audience members were interested in finding out was, are there any interesting places, like perhaps ocean places that you've been to that you would like to share to the audience members? And how do you like find those places where you want to help preserve like a particular environment?
That is a great question. There are so many, amazing places around the world, obviously, and they all have different needs. I mean, in the big picture, obviously, we don't need to manage ocean resources. We need to manage the humans, or the things that need to be managed. And so when you look at the health of the ocean in countries where they have strong governments and they've created policies around fishing management, for example, and they have data to inform the health of the coral reefs or the fish species, things are going in a positive direction. Most of the world, however, does not have the science and does not have the strong government action. So to your point of where to get involved, like most things, start locally. And so it is the case that internationally, where good things are happening, it's because people are putting their energy into improvement in that place. And so, and a lot of that is happening through partnerships with NGOs. So wherever you are, if you're here in the US, and you want to learn about and get involved in protection of an area, the big US NGOs, World Wildlife Fund, all of those groups are doing that work. The Monterey Bay Aquarium, we're doing a lot of work on sustainable fishing practices in Indonesia and Vietnam. And then internationally, I mean, the real solution is to, build and mobilize advocacy in the countries. And so they're great NGOs wherever you are, it's civic action to pressure the government to do the science and to enforce their policies. That's really the solution that needs to happen. And then finally, I would say, a big piece of the solution to all of this, of course, is setting aside protected areas. Maybe we'll touch on that later, but setting aside an area where fishing and offshore oil drilling and deep sea mining and all of that, where that's not allowed, it is always going to be a good thing for the ocean. And some places, it might be in conflict with basic human needs and livelihoods. So that's something that needs to be worked out with the community.
Yeah, and I think Maxine also wanted to know, what was your favorite part about running the aquarium? And then as an add-on question, how do you balance your work, your personal life?
Favorite part of running the aquarium? Wow. I got involved in the aquarium when I was really young. It was a family project. My dad, David Packard, and my mom set up a foundation to do work in the community, and we're really concerned about the state of science education. Back then, my father was always concerned about that as co-founder of Hewlett Packard, and so the family foundation was interested in science education, and so some of us had the idea to do the aquarium. For me, I was asked to be in charge, and actually have ended up not hardly doing any marine biology at all. And of course, I'm more, it's a management job, and I actually found I love the challenge of influencing the public for change. I used, when I started out, we thought, the hardest part about building an aquarium is going to be what's on the wet side of the glass. Like, how do you keep a kelp forest for the first time? Or how are you going to feed these jellies? After we opened, I quickly decided like the most challenging species in the aquarium is on the dry side. It's us, it's the human species. So I've enjoyed the most, learning about learning by experience and research we've done, really social science research over time as to how you can connect with people around conservation. That's been fun. And then of course I love working with all the fun, passionate people at the aquarium. We're all crazy about strange little things that live in the ocean, and so we all have our favorite animals, and it's fun to work with a lot of passionate people.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that's all the time that we have for a Q&A session, but I did want to ask you if you wanted to give your final piece of advice of perhaps why you retain hope for the future when it comes to climate change, when it comes to ocean conservation, and when it comes to preserving our beautiful Earth.
Well, I know it's just been such a rough year for everyone. We all have to acknowledge that not only is we've had these terrible climate events, but of course, even more terrible, we've had so much human tragedy with COVID and with racial unrest, and just, the human condition has not been uplifting this last year. That being said, I am really optimistic about the future because I think that people are realizing more and more about the urgency for action, and I think that that even the bad events of the last year have made people realize how tenuous and precious life is, and that we are a global community, and I hope that the cooperation that we've seen, say with developing the COVID responses, will be a new light for the future for how the global community works together. And as part of that, of course, the youth activist movement that's happening around the world is really, really exciting. And I'm thrilled that everyone's getting behind that. I hope you all continue. My generation and the ones before me caused all these problems. We own that. And just let's hope for the best and keep up the work for the future. Thank you so much.